editor and designer from Spain. I would like to talk a little bit about my job, about how I make Bellota, and how I develop all the project during these last 2 years. For the last 2 years, I've been self-publishing the Bellota, which is the first knitting and crochet patterns in Spanish. For that moment to now, we have published 4 issues, and we are about to launch our number 5, which is in fact number 1, because we are changing now the name of the project and the name of the magazine from Bellota to Hiedra, which means ivy in Spanish. I would like to introduce which is the process of publishing the magazine and what is my main job in the magazine. I study history of art, and I've been working for a big company for more than 5 years. There I learned a lot on how to roll a business and how to manage things and everything. But in parallel, I was working in several different and cultural and artistic projects, such as creating exhibitions and making my own proposals to exhibitions. Some of these projects were involved or not with yarn, but it connected me a lot with all the cultural management of different issues on my own. That's where I learned, and that's my background on how to start a cultural project like that. I'm also really in touch with punk culture, and this is something that I also try to explain in the magazine. I started to knit when I was about 13 years old. I wanted to knit the small puppet that is in the cover of the album Dirty by Sonic Youth. This is a Mike Kelly puppet that I really love. I really love this artist. And well, this is something that also connects me to Eva, because last year I designed this t-shirt for Perth 2019. Eva opened a submission for designs to make the t-shirt and the tote bag for the festival, and I submit this. So even I knew Eva from the first edition of Barcelona Knits. We have the opportunity to contact just a little bit there, and because of this design we get in contact. She invited me to Perth last year. I was there with some of my friends, designers, knitters, dyers, and we have a really fun time there. You know, of course, that festivals are a point of connection between other professionals in the sector of the yarn. So I really would like to thank Eva to call me for this small keynote for talk about my job and what is to launch a knitting magazine. I would love to introduce what is Bellota in first time. Bellota is, I think, it's more than a magazine. I think it's like a community of knitters, dyers, and designers. Part of my job is like connecting all the professionals in the yarn movement. I would like to say movement more than business, because I think we are all here for the love of what we do, and I think it's much more than a business. So in these 2 years, around our Instagram account, we build a really involved community of knitters that are always involved also with the magazine. They help me a lot. Even the 90% of the work is made by me. Also hire people for making the tech editing, the photography, the layout, and so on. but also some knitters offers themselves to test or to knit some samplers. So I'm really thankful for this community, not just for reading and knitting the patterns in the magazine, but also for contribute in one way to the develop of the magazine. Also some illustrators, writers, and knitters that are that love to write sometimes contribute to the contents of the magazine. So really it's more than a magazine, is something that connect people. Well, the process of making the magazine, as I told you before, is totally independent. Bellota has been the first independent knitting magazine. Of course, there have been different publications about knitting patterns and things like that, books and magazines and everything related with brands and big editorial projects. But I think this is the first project that is rolled by a person on his own, like me. And I'm very proud that in these 2 years, other designers and other brands decide to launch their own editorial projects. So I'm kind of an inspiration for them, and I'm really happy for that, because the landscape of the publications about knitting in Spain is growing a lot in these 2 years, and this is really amazing. The process of making the magazine starts with a mood board that I make on my own. I try to create a theme about something that inspires me. It's something that I just find my own. It's like I look in magazines, I look in the news, I look in books, movies, everything that can inspire me. And then I grow like a mood board to communicate to my audience, to send a submission. I make a small blog on the website of Bellota, and there is where I launch the submission. So after that, the patterns came to me, and I have to decide what is going to be on the magazine. For the theme, I also have to have like some view, because the production of the magazine, it takes more than 6 months. It's almost a year, so we have to think what is going to be trendy or what is going to be different and fashionable in the knitting international community for the next year. So we have to try to be different and try to find a topic that would be interesting for the people. So after launching the submission, the patterns come to me by mail normally, and I put everything on the table and I try to select the contents. Normally I try to balance the different garments that I have, to make a balance between big garments and complements and accessories. So I try to select from 1 to 3, 4 sweaters, jackets and things like that, and then I try to find also socks, mittens, hats and shawls, for example. When I have all the contents, all the patterns selected, I also begin to find some other content that could match the history I want to tell in the magazine. After selecting all the contents and all the patterns, I contact the designers, and then I explain them all the contract details and the deadlines. And sometimes they say yes. Normally they say yes, and sometimes they say no because they can fit our calendar. So this is a small recommendation I can give to you when you submit to a magazine. you have to check a little bit the calendar of the other years, because this will make you an idea of what is the calendar of the magazine, because we are very tight on dates, and we need to be on time for everything. This is a whole team work, and we need that every piece work together. So I think it's a pity if a magazine contact and you can make the deadline. So try to figure out how is the calendar on the magazine, and try to figure out your calendar in case they select you. I would love to tell you about how is that process after selecting all the patterns and contact the designers. We have to make the garments. The garments that are shown in the magazine normally are knitted by the own designers. They need the samplers, but sometimes I have to contact sampler knitters for making the samplers for the magazine. Sometimes we make different samplers in different colors to show up in the magazine different kinds of how the garment can look. When we have all the garments ready, it begins the process of writing the magazine. Parallel to the garments, the knitting the garments, we are working in the other contents, like illustrations, like technical illustrations, like that. I'm going to find something for you. We make the technical illustrations by hand to explain how the patterns are. So parallel to the knitting of the garments, we are making this process of the other contents that would be in the magazine. When we have all the contents ready, we go for the shooting. One thing that we have to have in mind for the shooting, of course, is the model, because it's going to be like the face of this issue. For us, it's really important how it's going to look that. We decide to choose different models, not by how they look like, but more who they are. We have from girls about 17 years old to, we have a girl so young here. And also we select this magical woman that is about 60. We try to find people that inspire us. Sometimes they have been even singers or actors. So we try to represent all kind of beauties in our pages. So when we have to make all the garments and we are going to make the shooting, we have to have in mind with in advance who is gonna wear the garments, because we have to make it in that size and in the colors that will suit the hair and the face of the model. So this is one thing that you have to have in mind, that if you are going to make something knitted, it will take a time. So if you're going to make a shooting, you have to think who is going to wear it. So when we have all the garments and we have decided the model, we go for the shooting. Normally, as I live in Amsterdam now, I travel to Madrid and I make the shooting there with Vanessa, our photographer, who is also part of the team in a more artistic way, because I work with her in all the layout process and all the artistic direction of the number. We try like the attrezzo and the things the outfits and the things that are gonna be in the shooting. Try to fix the atmosphere that we would like to give to the patterns. In the case of the number on the number 4, we shoot all the garments in the house of the model, because it's an amazing, really amazing house, and we decide to to make it happen in her own house. That was really beautiful because she was so comfy. Also the garments that she was wearing, like the outfits, were the outfits on her own wardrobe. So she was really comfy on the shooting. She was not a professional model, but making that, she was really comfy on the shooting. So I traveled to Madrid to make the shooting there, but of course this year has been a little bit different. So normally we do the shooting from 1 to 4 days, but this year we have been working in the photography for months, because of course when I have to travel to Madrid, everything was closed and I can go there. So Vanessa had to make all the photographs on their own, on her own house, and she has to open her house and her body to us. That's one thing that I really want to explain also here, because making this issue during the pandemic has been very challenging to us. As I told you, when I have to travel to Madrid to make the shooting, I can't travel. They close the borders and I have to stay home. So even the most important problem seems to be that I can be there in the shooting. The big problem came after that, because as I told you, we would love to represent all kind of beauties in our pages, and for this issue we choose Kika, who is a girl from Madrid. She have a bookstore, a record store that is really lovely. She has a bookstore about punk rock books, politic books and artistic books, and also records, independent records and things like that, and we really love her. Kika is a plus size model, so we make all the garments in a size of, I don't remember, but I think it's something like 140 for the bust size, and Vanessa is 80. So when we have to make the shooting for this issue, we had that thing. We have all the borders closed. I can go to there. Kika was locked in her place and the photographer was locked in their place. So finally we decide we can do this with this model. So Vanessa took the place of the model and decided to make autophotographs. So we had a problem because Vanessa is 80 bust size and the model was 140. So we had a lot of garments that were very big and a really small girl. And this was really challenge for us. We had to use our imagination a lot to try to figure out how to make the garments look really beautiful in a different size. But during this process we understand that this is like a sign. This was really interesting, because one thing that we want to explain with our models is that size doesn't matter at all. And the best way to make that happen is to put a different size in a different kind of body. So I think that was a real interesting process of creating all the shooting this time. After making the shooting, we begin with the layout process. We consult all kind of books, old books, art books, knitting books, everything, even films and things like that, that can inspire or layout. We try to find a typography that is lovely, and we try to figure out how to put things on the magazine to tell the story. Also, I want to tell you about typography, because that's a really important issue in the construction of the magazine. Of course, at the beginning of the first layout, we want to go for a small typography, really elegant and purist and lovely, and so pure and beautiful. But we think about our readers, about the knitters who are going to read the magazine. So we decide to go for a big typography as a matter of inclusion also, because that make us think about a knitting magazine is something that you have to use. You can use. It's not something. It's not an object that you can put on the shelf and forget it. It's something that you are gonna work with. So I think it's really important that the pages are well composed and the letters are well big enough to be read for the knitters and to make the magazine something useful. So that's the reason we decide to go for a bigger size of the letters in the magazine. Vanessa is a really important piece in the process of the designing of the layout. We work together with the designer of the layout in how the pictures could look beautiful, and also the patterns are useful and the things are going to be easy to read inside the magazine. Also, we choose the photographs thinking about how the knitters are going to use the magazine. We try to make all the details of the shoes or the heels on the socks. We try to shoot all the details that can be useful for the knitters when they are going to make the patterns. Something like showing the back, showing the cuffs, showing everything that could be useful for the knitters to develop the garment successfully. Parallel to this process of the layout, we begin the technical edition of the patterns. We work with two kind of editors. One is a technical editor that is in charge of checking that everything is okay, the numbers are okay, and the pattern is well written, and the things fit or styles it and everything. And the other corrector, the other people that supervise all the words in the magazine is a copy editor that try to find errors or any kind of mistake that can make the text not easy to read, or she can find difficult words or something like that. That is something that we have to fix. So when we have all the contents of the magazine, like illustrations, like technical illustrations, also the graphics of the charts of the designs and everything, the text and the patterns, the photography and everything, we begin to do the layout, and we go for the printer. In that point, I would love to explain you how we start and how. Well, I think this could be useful for you in a sense, and a more whole sense, on how to ship or how to launch a project on your own. Because I'm talking about my magazine, but you can launch whatever you want. The thing is, when I begin in that, I have totally nothing. I knew nothing about the editorial process. So I began with this idea when I moved to France 2 years ago. I left my office. So then I knew that I want to do something that involved my designs, my patterns, and also that makes some value to the knitting Spanish community. I think to make a magazine it was a good idea, because there was no magazines in that moment in Spain, and it's a good way to connect the dyers, the designers and the knitters, and also the brands and everything. So I thought that it was a good starting point to improve like the culture of knitting in Spain, that it was in a starting point in some sense. And I think in these 2 years, the things, well, it's not just about Bellota, of course. There are several things that have changed in the knitting Spanish community, but I think this contributes a lot to making a standard of how to write in patterns, for example, of how to encourage people to design more, things like that. When I started, as I told you, I really knew nothing about how to make a magazine. When I was younger, I made, of course, fanzines and things like that, but it's not so different because this is a business, of course, and you have to have so many things in mind before you start. So at the beginning, I just make a really big to-do list on what were things that I had to do. In first case, contact the printers and contact the sponsors. Of course, I received a lot of no's in that moment because it was a new project and I have no background at all on that thing. So I received a lot of no's, but of course, and happily I receive a lot of yes. So I would like to thank from here to the people that trust Bellota in the first case. Some brands like Malabrigo and Rosario's Cuatro help us a lot to grow with their sponsorship. So, well, as I told you, I would like to tell you that this is something that you can use for anything you want to launch. It's a brand, this is your designs, or anything you can do, you want to do. The thing is, like, the knitting community is open to do things. So if you have an idea, try to write down all the things you have to do to ship that idea, and try to contact the people that you think can help you. So normally the people want to do things. So some of them will say no, but some of them will say yes and help you a lot. Try to don't let your ideas die in your desktop. Try to make them happen because it's the first starting point. And of course, in these 2 years, I have now a little bit more of experience, so much more experience. So it's a path you have to walk, and you are going to be wrong and you are going to make so much mistakes. But if you never start, you are never going to do your dreams come true. So it's really important that you do the first step. When you do you make a first step, things begin to run and things begin to start in one way. You're going to make mistakes, of course, but you are on it. The process is really interesting. Is one way to learn a lot about everything, about how to build a brand, about how to build your presence on social media, on how to treat with your customers, everything. You're gonna learn a lot if you launch your own project. So I totally encourage you to do it. And at that point, I would like to tell you about the difference between publishing your own patterns and to publish for a magazine. To knit in your own, to try to sell your own patterns puts you in a place that is going to be you. So you have to fight for your visibility. You have to develop everything you have to do. You have to do the photograph. You have to find a technical editor that helps you, everything. But it's about you. But when you submit something to a knitting magazine, it's not totally about you. It's about selling magazines. So take this in mind when you make a submission, because there are some tips that I can give you that maybe make you succeed in a submission. Last year I have the opportunity to be published by PomPom, and there I learn a lot on how to, I learn a lot in both sides, in the designer side and also the publisher side. they are really professional, so I was really impressed on how they do everything. But I was really happy also to see that I'm not doing the things totally wrong. I was on the good way. So if you let me give you some tips to submit to magazines, I will tell you that try to make your patterns well written but shorter, because for a magazine, a publisher, every page counts. So if you submit something that is really beautiful, stylish, and is creative, and also is a short pattern, this is a really nice and interesting pattern for a magazine, because we have like limited space in the magazine, and if we find short patterns, we can put more patterns in the magazine, and this is really interesting. This is something that I can, an advice that I can give to you. Also, keep it good written is something that is really important, because of course, we have to do the technical edition of that, and if the patterns come like really calm and really smooth, it's really better, the process of the technical edition. So we spend less time correcting this pattern, and it makes more easy the process of the whole production of the magazine. So really correct your patterns, and take in mind that it's gonna be a whole team working with that, and there are really tight dates on the magazine process that you have to fit and the people have to fit. So it's really important that you send something that is well written and well corrected and nice. Other thing that I would love to tell about this process and the experience that I have in these 2 years is that you have to have in mind something: progress over perfection. Because if you try the things to be perfect, they're never gonna happen. This is something that I had to learn, and I had to really leave behind, because when you want to ship something to a big audience, and you want to sell a product that is a quality product, there's always something that is wrong, and there's always something that could be perfect. Okay, so you have to put a deadline on the calendar and fit that deadline the much as you can, because if you try to make it better and better, really this is never gonna happen. This could be always better. So try to think about that: progress over perfection. The number issue of Bellota was made in 5 months, just 5 months. We decided to start Bellota in January, and in June, for the Knitting International Public Day, Knitting in Public Day, sorry, it was out. So it was a really short time to make all the process and to learn about all the things we have to do. We have to find a photographer, we have to find the models, we have to make the garments, we have to correct the garments, we have tons of things to do that we really didn't know how to do. Of course, we know knitting and we know how to write patterns, but all the things that were surrounded the other facts of the magazine were a complete surprise for us. So put a deadline on the calendar, because this is gonna push you to make things happen. And one thing that I have learned in all this process is that ideas in your desktop are nothing if you don't develop them. So go for it. It's just, it's not so easy, of course, but it's just that easy, like to begin to do it. Every issue of Bellota and now Yedra has been a really challenge for us, because as I told you, the number one was made in a really tight piece of time, but we learned some things there. So when we faced number two, we knew that we have known a lot of things, and we knew everything now. So we faced number two like, this is gonna be so easy because we did it before. But believe me, the number two, as when you make theater representations and performances, the first day of the showcase of the performance is really good, but the second day is a complete disaster, and that was what happened in our number two. We try to make it so big. We go for so much things. We go for so much patterns to work with so many designers. There were 12 patterns in the number two, and there were too many people to manage. So this could happen when you launch something and in the beginning it succeeds. It could happen that the next step is a complete disaster. But please don't give up, because the number three was a complete succeed. We sell so much more than in the number one and in the number two, and our number four was a totally success. People love it a lot, and they were so happy to have number four in their hands. They encourage me a lot in keep on doing it. Every June now they are like awaiting Bellota, and they are sending me messages and mails telling me when is going to be the magazine release. So this is the magic that we have done, or must I say I've done in these 2 years. It's like we get the people to expect Bellota every June as they expect, I don't know, Christmas or Halloween. So it's really something that makes me so proud of it. Even this magazine is not a complete way of life, because of course I have people that support me and everything. This make a way of living to me. I was working in an office completely sad, mad and depressed, and here I am now 2 years or 3 years after, with a lot of experience on my background. I have learned a lot about how to make a magazine, of course, but also I learned a lot of how to write in patterns, how to make photographs, how to deal with people, how to deal with customers, how to build a brand, how to manage a business, how to talk to, how to negotiate with the brands and everything. So really, if you want to make something and if you have an idea, go for it, because it's something that will make you the opportunity to grow up as a person and as an eater, of course. So really, I encourage you to follow your dreams, work for them, because it's a lot of work. Of course, it's a lot of work, but I really encourage you to try to fight for your dreams. You have to also think about people that inspires you. In that case, I want to mention Eva, because Eva and maybe Liz, by Trellis, we are 3 different women with 3 different kind of business, but we all struggle really bad this year with all the situation, and I think we fight for what we love. And this is something that really inspires me a lot, to see my colleagues fighting for what they have built on these 3 years, well, or more, and try not to give up on what happened in everyday life, because when you start something that you love, you have done the worst part. The most difficult part is done, that is a start. So really, if you have an idea, if you have something that you want to fight for, put a deadline on the calendar and go for it. It's just the real message that I want to give to you in this small keynote. I hope that you have find interesting all the things that I have said here for you. I would love, really love to have been in Perth alive this year, to have the opportunity to talk with you, to have questions and to talk with you in person. But okay, this is a way that we can be together in some sense, and it's the way that we demonstrate that we can keep on working for our dreams. So thank you, Eva, to invite me to talk about my work. Thank you, everybody, to listen to me to this point. And okay, see you in Perth 2021.